Hi, my name's Christopher Wheeldon, director and choreographer for ballet and Broadway, and this is Playbills from Ballet to Broadway.
Christopher Wheeldon is the artistic associate for the Royal Ballet. Wheeldon was a part of New York City Ballet as a dancer and later on as a resident choreographer. His works for the Royal Ballet include Choreographed Games and The Winter's Tale.
The opportunity to choreograph my first Broadway show came with Sweet Smell of Success, directed by Nicholas Heitner. Nick and I had worked together on Center Stage, the movie. He was looking for a young choreographer for his new show, and he was willing to take a risk on a newbie. I'd only, to that point, choreographed ballet. Even the work I did with Nick in the film was ballet choreography, so it was sort of a departure. There I was at 26, 27 years old, suddenly in a room with Marvin Hamlisch and Craig Cornelia and the great playwright John Guare and Nicholas Heitner, wondering what the hell I was doing there. After Sweet Smell, there was a long period of time, 12, 13 years, before the opportunity to direct and choreograph An American in Paris came up. And it turned out to be, kind of pretty much a life-changing experience.
In 2015, he directed and choreographed An American in Paris, winning a Tony Award for Best Choreography.
When I started, I was so terrified of actors. Only really because I didn't know their process. Intimately, I know a dancer's process. And they work so differently. Dancers are very immediate. There isn't a lot of discussion. You're talking with your body. In the same way that an actor is developing a character and is helping to develop the show, in a sense, as you work with them. A dancer is doing the same way, but they're doing it physically rather than through a great deal of discussion. But with actors, there's a great deal of discussion and analysis and script breakdown and character development. So I kind of walked in to the process in a way kind of deliciously naive, because I think if I'd really known how uncomfortable parts of it would have been, I probably would have said no. So I think the biggest challenge was working on a book. I'd worked on synopsis for ballets before with writers. I developed, a sort of a new-ish version of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland for the Royal Ballet with a playwright, Nicholas Wright. I'd also worked on a synopsis for The Winter's Tale, which I made into ballet with Nicholas Heitner. So I'd sort of had a little bit of experience crafting a story for dance. But, book scenes are that's a whole nother kettle of fish. I don't think I fully understood the undertaking of a director, how you're pulling all of your creative team together, you're responsible for developing the book with the writer, and in some cases with actors as you're kind of going through the process. I did feel like the choreographic transition was fairly seamless. I grew up loving musicals. Musical theatre was actually really kind of my first love. It just turned out that I really couldn't sing, but I really could dance, and that I had a very natural body for classical ballet, so that's kind of how I fell into the ballet. I remember some of the actors, the non-dancing actors in American in Paris, were, I think, a little shocked at how quickly I got everything up on its feet, because of course for me, like, the movement of a scene really is so key and dictates a lot of how the emotion is is drawn out. I decided to go and study with a couple of directors just simply by observing rehearsals, and I went to watch Nick Heitner again. I went to watch his first 12 days of rehearsal of Julius Caesar in London. Working on Broadway absolutely changed my approach to working at the ballet. It encouraged me to look deeper into text when basing a ballet on a text like The Winter's Tale. The Winter's Tale was a ballet, full-length narrative ballet that I made for the Royal Ballet between the workshop of An American in Paris and the productions. And when I went back to the ballet, I found myself really probing the text. I think one of the things that's really quite sort of keenly different about the two worlds is that when you're making a new ballet, you are working with dancers whose heads are in the room with you, but who are also working on potentially another 2 new ballets and upcoming repertoire for the season. You're usually making work kind of around other people making work. Whereas with a Broadway musical, they've already got the job. They're in the room. The room is yours, for the however long 6 weeks rehearsal period you have. It's a very tight-knit feeling. It's a very family-like feeling, a Broadway cast. And there's something kind of special about the closeness that forms around creating something new and having people's undivided attention.